Alright, my little math friends, we are back and now we are moving on to 6.2a, solving algebra equations. And we're going to practice adding and subtracting, solving algebra equations by adding and subtracting. Now I just want to say how good it feels to be back, being able to make video lessons for you guys. Alright, teaching is something I really like. I really enjoy working with you guys, and I'm glad to be back making some videos, and I hope these work out for you guys and you're able to learn from these. And it's just good to be working with you guys again. I look forward to it each day. I want you guys to know that. Okay, so we are going to work with how to solve algebra equations, and let's first get into what an algebra equation is. Alright, an algebra equation is a math problem with one or more mystery numbers. Okay, and when we have a mystery number, a number that we don't know what it is, what they give that in math is they give it a letter. Usually it is x, and it is a variable. Okay, and that letter represents a number, a mystery number. We don't know what it is, and the whole goal of the algebra equation to solve it is to find out what exactly that number is that letter represents. So what are we trying to do with this? Well, we are trying to find out what actual number those mystery numbers really are. Okay, we're trying to find out what exactly they are. Alright, now let me back up just a little bit, because in 6.1 we were working with something called algebra expressions, like 6n plus 2 plus 5n. Okay, and we couldn't solve these. All we could do is simplify it by combining what they have in common. Like the n's, we could combine, we could add those together to make it 11n plus 2. Okay, all we could do in 6.1 was simplify, make the math problem shorter, just like that. Okay, now we can solve, and the reason we can solve is because of this guy right here, the equal sign. Now we can actually solve and find out what mystery number these variables are. Okay, and when we're trying to solve these algebra equations, usually equations like this, these ones that are pretty simple, we can just ask ourselves what number added to 5 gives us 7. Alright, and we can usually solve these mentally. We know that, well, if we add 2 plus 5, that gives us 7. Okay, so this mystery number, this x, is actually a 2. Alright, we just solved that just by thinking about it. Okay, same with this one here. We have a mystery number. We want to find out what it is. That's the whole goal of the algebra equation. 9 minus what number gives you 4? Well, that number, we can solve that mentally, and we know that it is 5. Okay, because 9 minus 5 gives you 4. Alright, some algebra problems like that we can solve just by figuring that out mentally. Okay, now there's some algebra problems like this one right here that we're going to get into, which are a little bit more difficult because we get into some decimal numbers and some negatives, and it's harder to find out what this is mentally. Okay, we are trying to find out what number added to 3.2 would give us negative 8.4. Okay, a little more difficult to figure that one out. Okay, so there's some steps we use to find out what this number is so that we can solve this equation. Okay, 2 steps involved here. The step number 1, when we're trying to find out what that number is called doing the inverse operation. Okay, and what the inverse operation means is doing the opposite operation. Okay, we're going to look at the math problem and we're going to do the opposite of what we see. Okay, and the second rule is called rule of cow. Okay, and rule of cow goes like this: what you do to one side of the equation, you do to the other side of the equation. Okay, get it? That's some math humor, guys. You can laugh at that. It's okay. Other, It's a joke? Okay, that is good stuff. That is funny. I don't care who you are. Okay, that is good. All right. Rule of cow and inverse operation. Those two steps are going to allow us to solve these equations. Let me show you how it works. Here's our equation right here, and we're trying to find out what this mystery number is. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do number one, the inverse operation. Okay, so we have two sides of the equation. We have this side, and then we have this side over here, and they're separated by the equal sign. Okay, and our whole goal to finding out what x is, what that number is to get rid of this number right here on this side with x. We're trying to get rid of that, okay? That is where the inverse operation comes in. We're going to do exactly the opposite of this right here. So if I'm adding 3.2, I'm going to do the opposite of that over here on this side of the equation. I am going to take away 3.2. And what that does is that allows me to cancel that out and make it disappear, because 3.2 minus 3.2 gives me 0, and that's exactly what I want to do. Okay, so I'm going to cancel that off. Alright, I just did the inverse operation. I did the opposite. Now I have to do rule of cow. What I do on this side, I have to do over here to this side of the equation. So since I did minus 3.2 here, I'm going to do minus 3.2 over here. Okay, and now I have subtraction, so I need to do same change. Alright, our old friend, same change. And when we do that, when I do same change with that, negative 8.4 plus negative 3.2 gives me negative 11.6. Okay? Alright, so I did the first two steps. I did the inverse operation. I did the rule of cow. Now, look at this. This kind of got a little messy up here. Okay? So I'm going to draw a line underneath everything I did. Bring down my equal sign, then I'm just going to bring down everything I have left over here on these two sides of the equation. Okay? Since I got rid of the 3.2, I canceled it out. I am left with the x over here on this side. Alright? Then over here, I added negative 3.2. So what I got now over here on this side is negative 11.6. Okay? Negative 11.6. Alright? And we have just solved this equation because it automatically tells us x equals negative 11.6. That is the mystery number that x equals. Okay? Our goal was to get rid of the numbers over here with x, which we did, and then it tells us exactly what it equals by those two steps. Alright? That is what we're going to be doing. Let's take a look at a few more problems, and we'll practice this some more, because I know it's kind of new and it takes a little bit to get it down. So let's check out a few more problems. Okay? Here we have a mystery number. We have x again. We want to find out what it is. X, so this number plus 5.6 equals 19.1. Okay, it's a little difficult to figure it out mentally, so we're just going to go through our two steps to find this out. First step, we want to cancel out 5.6. To cancel this out, we're going to do the inverse operation, the opposite. So I'm going to go minus 5.6 over here. Then I have to do rule of cow, so over here on this other side of the equation, I need to go minus 5.6. Okay, this is going to cancel that off because we're doing the opposite of it. It's going to disappear. And when we take away 5.6 on this side of the equation, 19.1 minus 5.6 gets us 13.5. Okay, I'm going to clean this up a little bit. I'm going to draw a line underneath everything, drop my equal sign, and then bring down everything that is left on this side. I don't have the 5.6 anymore, so I'm just left with the x. And then on this side over here, I did the math, and I'm left with 13.5. Okay, we just solved this equation. X equals 13.5. That is the mystery number that x equals. Alright? And you can always tell if you got these problems right by testing it. Okay, test 13.5 in for x and see if you'll get 19.1. Put it back into the original. So give that a try. Take 13.5, add 5.6, and you will find that it equals 19.1. Okay, that is our mystery number. We just put that number into the original problem and we get 19.1. It almost guarantees we never get the answer wrong because we can always put the number in and see if it equals what it said it did originally. Okay, it's like a test. Alright, let's check out another problem here. Here we have negative 17.1 plus x, here's our mystery number, equals negative 4.8. Okay, we need to find out what we add to negative 17.1 to get negative 4.8. Alright, we are going to do our first step, the inverse operation. Think to yourself, how do you get rid of negative 17.1? How do you cancel it out? Well, you do the opposite. Negative 17.1, if I do the opposite of that, if I add 17.1, that is going to make that cancel out and disappear. Okay, negative 17.1 plus positive 17.1 equals 0, and it cancels it out. That's what I want to do. Rule of cow, I have to do the same thing what I do on this side I have to do to the other side. I have to do it over here, so I have to add 17.1 over here to this side, and when I do that it equals 12.3. Okay, now draw your line here just to clean everything up. Bring your equal sign down first. Now drop down everything that is left. Okay, so I have x over here on this side. Alright, this plus sign we don't have to drop down because we just canceled that out, so that's like 0 plus x. So 0 plus anything is just going to be what it was, so we don't need to drop down the plus sign. It kind of disappeared. Over here on this side we did the math and we are left with 12.3. Alright, so x equals 12.3. Alright, let's check out the next problem we have here. Sometimes we have some fractions to deal with. Okay, it's not a problem. I know you guys don't like fractions very much. I get it, but we're just going to use the same exact steps we did before. Here's our mystery number. What number plus 2/3 equals 8 and 1/6? We need to find out what that is. We're going to get rid of this 2/3 over here, so do the opposite of adding 2/3, which is subtracting 2/3. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to go minus 2/3 because that's my rule. I have to do this on the other side of the equation. Okay, now think about fractions. We need a common denominator before we can subtract. Okay. Alright, I had to switch this number out because now it says 8 and 5/6, which should be like what is on your paper. Now we're ready and good to go. Okay, so we got 8 and 5/6 minus 2/3. Now remember, with subtracting fractions, we got to get a common denominator. Alright, so I would have to multiply this fraction by 2 to get 4/6. That way I can subtract them. I'm just going to do the math up here where I got a little bit more room. 8 and 5/6 minus 4/6. Okay, do the math on that. 8 take away nothing is still going to be 8. 4 minus 5, we get 1/6. Alright, that would be our answer over here. Okay, now that we figured that out, I'm going to draw my line under here because I did my 2 steps, inverse operation, and then I did the same thing to the other side. Now let's put down what we have left. Over here we have x. I have my equal sign. Then over here when I did the math, I got 8 and 1/6. And that tells us what x is. Alright, x is equal to 8 and 1/6. That is our mystery number. Alright, one more example for you. Look over here. We got a subtraction sign. Okay, to make life a little bit easier now that you guys are getting into some more complicated math, bust out that same change. Okay, that's going to help you out quite a bit. Do that first when you see that subtraction sign. So that's going to turn into plus. That's going to turn into a positive. Now we just have x plus regular 7.2 equals negative 3.8. We're going to find out what this mystery number is. Okay, so we need to do the opposite of adding 7.2, which is going to be subtracting 7.2, and that will cancel that number out. Then I need to do the same thing to the other side. I'm just following my rules, so that's going to be minus 7.2 over here. Okay, we got subtraction again, so that means we have to do same change. Alright, now we have negative 3.8 plus negative 7.2, and when I do the math on those, that's going to give me negative 11. Alright, we did both our steps. Draw our line here so we can clean this up so we don't have this such a mess going on here. Bring down your equal sign. The only thing we have left here is the x because we canceled everything out. And then we have the negative 11 over here on this side. Okay, so x equals negative 11. That is what that mystery number is. Alright? I got a couple try this problems for you. I got this one right here, and then I have a fraction problem. Give those a try, see what you guys come up with, and then hit play, and we'll take a look at your answer.